You know what a good thing about playing old video games for the first time is? You can still get to be surprised. In my younger days, I really get switched off from vertical shooters that involved you flying a spaceship or something. These had really become stale and boring for me, and when I played 1942 as a kid, that game just reaffirmed my loathing for the genre. And so now, here I find myself some 40 years later, looking at games that I looked past. And in the case of Flying Shark, I realise I missed out on a real cracker of a game. Flying Shark is a 1987 vertically scrolling shooter arcade video game originally developed by Toaplan. As you control a biplane, the players must fight endless waves of military vehicles while avoiding collisions with their projectiles and other obstacles. The plane has a powerful bomb at its disposal that can clear a portion of the screen of bullets and damage enemies when fired. The gameplay takes place over 5 increasingly difficult levels in order to defeat an assortment of military enemy forces like tanks, battleships, airplanes and artillery as the main objective. The game initially appears to be very standard, as players control their plane over a constantly scrolling background and the scenery never stops moving until a runway is reached. Players have only 2 weapons at their disposal, the standard shot that travels a max distance of the screen's height, and 3 bombs. The game employs a checkpoint system in which a downed single player will start off at the beginning of the checkpoint they manage to reach before dying. Getting hit by enemy fire will result in losing a life, as well as a penalty of decreasing the plane's firepower to his original state, and once all lives are lost, the game is over, unless players insert more credits into the arcade machine to continue playing. Completing the last stage restarts the game, with the second loop increasing in difficulty, something which I am now discovering is a common trait in Toaplan games. When I just strolled on by this cabinet in arcades, I never even thought about going back for a look, or even sticking in 30p for a go. The quick glance I gave it informed my tiny child mind that this was a game I was not going to waste any time or money on. I did have some mates play it though, and they told me it was a good game, but at that time I was like, yeah right, whatever. And yet, all these years later, I still never went back and had a look. It was only after I'd done my series of bullet hell shooter videos that I started to think about the possibility of looking back at these games for the first time. And this is where I am today, playing Flying Shark for the first time in my life, and loving this game. There will be comparisons to Capcom's 1942, Of course there would. It's kind of the same idea. An old-fashioned plane shooting down hordes of enemy waves. But this game is so much better than 1942 in my opinion. Firstly, the game moves at a much faster and frenetic pace. The enemy waves are fairly predictable, but the enemy fire is less predictable, and often at times I found myself flying back into enemy fire I thought I had already dodged. And it's when a lot of enemy planes and tanks are on the screen that the whole place becomes a bullet factory and you find yourself moving all over the place just to stay alive. There is something else about the game as well that just makes it a far more enjoyable experience in 1942, and I think it's maybe the music that makes it a more enjoyable experience. The tunes will not win any Grammys or anything, but they are pretty catchy, if a tad repetitive, but at least this game has them. 1942 seemed almost sterile in the atmosphere department. Flying Shark, however, has bags of atmosphere. The visuals as well do have a decent amount of detail, especially given the sprites are mostly small. When you shoot an enemy aircraft, you see this plume of smoke and flames coming from its engines before it explodes into a cloud of smoke and debris, and many a gun emplacement on the ground leaves this crater when it's been destroyed. I have to say, for 1987, that is a pretty good level of detail. As the main sprite is fairly small, some of the enemies look massive, like the battleships and destroyers you encounter, and overall, the game has a very decent look to it. As I mentioned, the playability is great in this game. It's pretty tough, and I guess it would have been a real coin muncher back in the day, and if I had played it instead of just walking past it, then I am sure I would have spent a few quid on it. But I can't say exactly how much, as I think the challenge may have put me off slightly. But with hindsight, I reckon this game would have put a smile on my face in those days. It certainly put a smile on my face recently. Flying Shark is almost like someone at Toaplan played 1942 and thought, I could make this so much better, and then went about making it better. I do have some regrets about not giving it a go back in the day, as I really do feel like a solid gold gem has passed me by. But thanks to emulation, I can go back and play it, and I am so glad I have, as this is a game I will definitely come back to time and time again in the future. And that was my look at Flying Shark. If you like this video, then please do give me a sub and a thumbs up, or maybe even a comment or two below about your memories of Flying Shark on any format. And a massive thank you to all those who have subscribed and commented on my channel. Your feedback and support really does go a long way in helping the channel grow, and I do appreciate all of you, so it's a massive thank you from me. And that's all from me, folks. Thanks for watching.